and welcome. And we'll start, of course, with our bracha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah.
Amen.
So let's go back to where we were looking at stuff. A lot of material on every page. You look at all that print. Wow. Okay, I was looking at some latest stuff going through, but let's see. Make sure. Yep. Okay, so we're actually here. V'chashakta. And remember, we just said yesterday that we wanted to define this word v'chashakta, which just describes his desiring her. And he says, afal pi she'ena na'eh, or na'ah, even if she is not so beautiful. The issue isn't how much of a yafat toar she is. The issue has more to do with how he feels about about her and how much he's, quote, in love with her. That's the real issue. And so she might not be so beautiful, but if he is in love with her to that extent, I mean, totally gaga. And this supports what we were saying before, that the Torah is really speaking about where this person is, because if the Torah forbids this practice, he's going to do it anyway. So a very, something to think about as far as that is concerned. So let's take a look here, Ayin Gimel. Make sure I find the place. Okay, that's Ayin Bet, so Ayin Gimel. Yes, we had quite a bit to say there. And I'm struggling to find Ayin Gimel. Okay, here it is, right there. Bazeh, here we go. Bazeh nivdal ha'pa'al chashak me chamad. He takes two verbs, and chamad is the verb that talks about, that's in the 10th commandment, right? V'lo tachmod, right? You shall not covet. Whereas chashak is to desire. Ha'acharon, that is chamad, yoreh al ha'ahava ha'mesuvevet midvarim chitzonim v'gashmiim. So I'll translate all of that. So the latter, this is the word chamad, connotes or denotes, I think, about, I suppose it would be connote, maybe would be better, about love, right, regarding love, which is contingent on things external and physical. That's what the word chamad refers to.
I don't think, Rabbi, he loves her. He's just lusting her for lust, but she may not love him. He takes her, she may not love him, so it doesn't make sense. He just grabs her and takes her, and she may not love him. So
that is, of course, the $120,000 question, right? So we have to contest. Okay, so all right, we have to contextualize this. All right, and I suppose for some of them, first of all, if in fact she is a person who has gotten all dressed up and stuff in order to seduce another guy, that's saying something already. But you also have to understand that in that particular society, a woman to be married was something that was a great, great thing. And the fact that she wasn't killed, but that she was going to become this person's wife would have a great factor involved. Now, is there a possibility she didn't want to be married to him? Yep, that's definitely out there. But I think that if we look at this context fairly, the probabilities of her feeling relief and appreciation that if he does in fact desire her, and the point that's going to be made, Harlan, and I suppose we really should give a chance for the Torah Tamima to say everything that he has to say here, is that he really desires her, because it uses the let me just keep going with this comment, and certainly if you want to continue this line of thinking, we can do that. All right, but this may clarify this a little bit. Okay, that the Torah uses specifically the word chashak. Okay, and the Torah Tamima has just explained that in not using the word chamad, right? It doesn't use the word chamad. The Torah doesn't use that. The Torah is excluding an external lusting. Okay, and this is the point of this little comment that was said originally. Even if she's not so beautiful, right? Okay. So he just said that. So he gives examples. Lo tachmud kesef v'zahav alehem. Do not covet, right? Do not desire the silver and the gold that is upon them, regarding idols, right? Do not covet them. Do not desire them. I mean, covet may not be the right word, but it does mean sort of to desire deeply. Al tachmod yofya belibcha. And in the book of Proverbs, it says, do not desire her beauty in your heart. Ve'od harbe. So remember, he wanted to give examples of how the word chamad is used in connection with external or physical beauty. V'harishon, but the first, that is the chashak, but midvarim pnimiyim v'ruchanim. That refers to things that are internal and spiritual. Ukamor, and he gives examples. Rak ba'avotecha shachak Hashem. So here we get this verb chashak. Only in your ancestors, your forefathers, did the Lord desire la'ahava otam, to love them. And there the word is chashak. And it isn't because Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob were such great-looking guys, okay? It was more because of their characters. Ukamor, and another example, here we go. Oh, sorry. V'chadome, and similar examples. V'shaur hakatuv, okay? And and scripture apportions v'ra'ita, it says you shall see, v'lakachta, and you shall take, al yedei, because shehi na'eh b'mar'ita, okay? So there it says because she's beautiful in her appearance, or v'chashakta, and it says or you desire her, v'lakcha, and you take her, lakachta, afal pi she'ena na'a, even though she isn't so beautiful. So we'll keep going. Okay, yeah, we'll keep going on this and pull this a little bit further. Okay, and it says ba, you desire her, and keep in mind this word that we just had up there, velo ba uvechavirta. Yeah, cool your jets. In her, yes, you desire her, but not her companion. In other words, this only applies if you desire one woman, not more than one woman. So it has to be her. So we are defining this law, and we are, saying exactly, limiting it. So let's go on here. Yitachen lefaresh. It would appear that we can explain kavanat drasha zo, the intention of this particular drash, al pi hamavoar bedrasha hakodemet, in relationship to what was explained in the previous drash, the one we just did. Shekol ikar din yafator, that the whole purpose, right, the whole issue of this law of of Yafat Torah, of the beautiful woman, right, taken in captivity. Who mishum de lo dibra Torah. So this is a previous, not the immediate previous one, although I think in some ways it does refer to that as well. But that we made that comment, lo dibra Torah ela keneged yetzer hara, that the Torah was only trying to take into account a person's yetzer hara, a person's lust. Okay, so explaining now. Im kain, and if this is the case, tzarich sheyeh choshek ba be'emet, and in this case, he has to desire her truthfully. His desire for her has to be genuine. Ad sheyesh lachush, to the point that, in other words, here we are really talking about what Hallmark loves to describe, right? True love. He really, really loves this woman, and to a point that you would say, she'im lo yitiruha lo, if they do not give him permission to marry her, yisa'ena bi'isur, he would marry her regardless. He would take her regardless because he is so in love with her. Oshi'ara haTorah, okay, and the Torah calculates ki im choshek bishtayim, right? It figures that if in fact he desires two, right? If he wants two women, nikar, immediately you can tell she'ein choshek be'emet b'chol achat, that he doesn't really love either one. Ya'an, because ki ifshar lahov shtaim ke'achat, because it's impossible to love two in the way that you love one, right? You have to leave something over if you're going to love more than one. So that's why it's only if it's her and not more than one. And I really appreciate what what the Torah Tamima is doing here. And for this reason, and if this is the case, he loves more than one woman, he's desiring more than one woman, ein noheg heter yafat Torah, then the permission to marry a yafat Torah and the woman taken in captivity is no longer valid. He no longer has permission. Vezehu she'amar, and that's the point where it says v'chashakta ba v'lo ba u'v'chavirta. In other words, you should be in love, you should desire her and not she and her companion. V'dok, he says, QED. Umizeh tam hadrasha b'midrash chazita. Okay, and with a similar point to be made about true love, right? And that it applies to your soulmate. That's what it's referring to. Not your soul's mates or your soulmates, but your soulmate, right? In the Midrash on Shir Hashirim, Chazita, v'alai shukato, it says in chapter 7, it says, and upon me is his desire. In other words, I am in love with him. Melamed, that it teaches she'en shukatan shel Yisrael, what this as a metaphor for the relationship of the Jewish people to God. It's supposed to indicate that the desire and the love of the Jewish people, ela ba'avim shebashamayim, is only for their Father in heaven. That their soul love is for God. Klomar, that is to say, velo be'od davar zulato, and not in anything else, that their true love is that alone. V'hainu mishum, and for this is because the imlo hachi, that were this not the case, lo yunach halashon chukah, in that case, this term chukah would not apply. Okay, Harlan, does that help you at all?
Well, a little bit, because if he marries her, then and she doesn't love him, she can convert him to her way, some way or other, and trick him. I don't know why God lets this happen, because even a captive, he doesn't know anything about her family. He doesn't know anything about the Canaanites' pagan results, and he's marrying something out of his religion, out of his tribe, and God says you're not supposed to do that in the beginning. And I don't understand why God lets this happen, even though he has lust. Lust doesn't mean anything to really love a person. You got to know the person first of all. You got to know she's got to know you. He's got to know her. It takes a long time to know each other, not just to grab somebody. That's wrong.
So I think this is the reason why he has to allow her to cry for her father and mother for 30 days, that he's going to not see her in as an attractive kind of way, and that if he still really wants her, and really is in love with her still, then he can do it. I admit that there is the possibility that she is not in love with him. We all know stories about unrequited love, okay? But in this particular case, I have to at least allow the Torah to speak before objecting and try to understand how this law may actually apply from its fair point of view. From a contextual point of view, in society, for a woman not to be married was very, very tough. And we know there's societies today, which I mentioned, I think, yesterday, where for a woman not to be married it leaves her very vulnerable. And yes, there are many assumptions that are going into this particular law, but the truth of the matter is that the Torah always speaks in broad strokes, and in trying to apply these laws to reality, the kinds of objections that you're raising are absolutely valid, and one has to, if one is going to try and actually be Torah, trying to actually practice Torah, you have to take into account all these particular issues. But at the same time, there needs to be an underlying desire to try to fulfill the words of the Torah as best as you can. Yes, I'm not going to deny that, but I would also suspect that, that if he treats her well, if he treats her respectfully, if he gives her a good life, I mean, there are all kinds of things that a Jewish husband is supposed to do for his wife, by the way, and he's marrying her. So yes, there's the possibility that she is going to lead him astray and all those sorts of things. But apparently in this particular situation that the Torah is describing, the Torah is less concerned about that, all right, than allowing soldiers to go out and rape women wholesale, okay? They're very concerned about that. And they're trying to legislate, the Torah is trying to legislate as much as possible that the women get treated, at least in this particular case, as fairly as possible. So,
Rabbi?
Yes.
You talk about broad strokes.
Yeah.
And so instead of just focusing on what happens if he is led astray, let's also focus on the broad stroke of unconditional love, is what the Torah is truly teaching. So that includes being in love with someone who is not your faith, who is not color, who may be your sex. So it's including everything. And I love these kinds of discussions because we can talk about all those facets. Thank you.
Right. I mean, the fair thing is, of course, is that the Torah also speaks, unfortunately, in ways that would, challenge what you just said. But I think I really do appreciate the point. Yeah, go ahead.
Wait a minute.
Okay.
That's what I prefaced it with.
Okay, that's what you meant.
All increments in the whole. Okay. So I wasn't saying specifically this is the only, I'm saying this is part of the whole.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. I appreciate your clarifying that for me. I misunderstood where you were coming from when you spoke in when you mentioned broad strokes. So thank you. Yeah, agreed. I mean, the Torah wants to be a living teaching. Okay, and that requires balancing, and the circumstances alter cases kind of thing. Here's a very clear example, of circumstances alter cases. But also remember, the commentaries are saying if you go ahead and do this, you're going to be in trouble, right? Does that mean inevitably? No, but it is saying, be careful. I think again, the Torah is trying to protect the person by understanding ba as meaning only her and limiting the law to only this one woman. And the way the Torah Tamima is interpreting it, to try and not have a disastrous result because of this situation.
Which also includes that rarity where that love, as I had for Bruce, who was a Southern Baptist, that just says there is that room, though, for that soulmate, that true love, which because we're all one, we all go back to the same one.
Right.
So there's that possibility. It's not like you don't have to jump through hoops, and it's not like you're not going to be judged and you're going to struggle with issues in the future. It just includes that possibility that there is that kind of love.
Thank you. All right. We are actually out of time. I'll move this down here because the next one, I'll just do the Hebrew here because then I'll stop the recording. But it says, Velakachta, you shall take her. Melamed, so this teaches, Shelikuchin yesh lecha ba. What it's saying is that it's saying that you have a legitimate marriage. That you are that in this situation, the woman you're marrying, even though she's from, one of the captives, it's a legitimate marriage. So we'll take a look at the Torah Tamima on that with God's help tomorrow. I'll stop the share, and I'll also stop the recording and thank those if you were watching. I hope you found this interesting.